What would you do if you wanted to slip something past the prying eyes of your constituency? Well, if you're the DNC, you wait for a big distraction and try to get it past your voters while they're looking at all the hullabaloo. That's what the DNC tried to pull during the State of the Union address, when they took the opportunity to file some pretty damning paperwork that they really didn't want to get out. The State of the Union is one of the biggest political events of the year, and the eyes of almost the entire nation were on the address to the joint houses of Congress. Most of the politicians in Washington were there, aside from a few who were boycotting the event and the few who are in charge of the books over at the DNC. While the president spoke, and the people clapped or didn't clap, and the newspapers ran pictures of the people who clapped and didn't clap, papers were being filed. Apparently they had some funny business that they wanted to slip by their voters. The paperwork had to do with the financial state of the Democratic National Convention. Apparently, the people who want to convince you that they're so good at managing money aren't so great when it's their money. Tano reports that they were filing their FEC numbers, and with good reason. They seem to be solidly in the red, with no hope of escape. President Trump spoke of the good economic news to dead silence from Democrats. Job creation is up, with 2.4 million jobs created since the 2016 election, Democrats sat. They sat when the president announced we had defeated ISIS, touted low unemployment rates, fighting crime, uniting the country, and working together on a bipartisan basis. They were a legion of grumpy cats, still incensed that Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in 2016. Yeah, they're not over it. Another area of heartburn could be the Democratic Party's rather atrocious fundraising hauls. Filed during the State of the Union in the hopes of getting buried, Ken Vogel of the New York Times picked it up where he noted the Democratic National Committee had raised a little over $5 million in December, finishing the year $6 million in debt. The Republican National Committee has no debt and raised over twice as much as their Democratic counterparts. For 2017, the RNC raised $132.5 million to the DNC's $65.9 million. Regarding cash on hand, the RNC has close to $40 million, $38.8 million to be exact, while the DNC only has $6.3 million. Yeah, I don't blame Democrats for trying to use a highly televised event in an attempt to file and bury this report. It's quite ugly. On the other hand, as Katie wrote, the Republican National Committee not only had a great year, but a record-breaking one. The RNC raised more money in an off year for either party. It's an all-time high, whereas the DNC is pretty much on the verge of collapse. The GOP tax bill's reception is getting better, with the legislation's approval spiking, and the generic ballot advantage for Democrats being chipped away with every passing day. The midterms might not be such a walk in the park if the good economic news continues to emanate from this administration's policies. The economy is booming. The tax reform package has spurred over 250 companies to dole out bonuses to some 3 million workers. More employee investments are coming, more jobs are projected to be created, and charitable donations are expected to increase from companies thanks to Trump's tax bill. Apple's repatriation of $250 billion, part of their $350 billion investments back into America over a 5-year period, is projected to create 20,000 jobs in the process. We've reached a new era, one of economic prosperity, which is what President Trump emphasized during the State of the Union Tuesday. Kind of embarrassing that they had to go sneak that in while the president was talking about all the economic gains of the year. It's no wonder that the Democrats are so against lowering taxes. They need that money. While the tax dollars, hopefully, aren't going into the pockets of Democrats, it always seems to kind of work out that way. The DNC is famously in favor of giving more money to the unemployed, illegals, and pretty much anyone who can be conned into voting for them. The middle class is overwhelmingly in favor of lower taxes and a smaller government. However, if you're someone who plans to spend their entire career in Washington, deciding what to do with other people's money, you don't want to see that money going back to them. And you also don't want the fact that your entire party can't balance a checkbook put on display for the whole world to see. Unfortunately for them, you've got to get up pretty early in the morning to get something by a capitalist. We understand that watching where the money goes is important,